what I'm hearing so far is you've got a lot of information and overanalysis paralysis. So here I am, just little old me, and telling you, I think that the overanalysis is one of the biggest problems. So if I had to key point the 3 or 4 things that are making people lose, it's obviously management, lot sizes, risk, but really they don't stick with anything. It's the overanalysis. They've got all this info in their brain and they're like all over the place. So you've got a lot of info, but you don't have a strategy and you're stuck. So the advice I would give to you, particularly just solely for you, is this. If you're writing this down, is number one, once a week. I don't care what day you pick, but commit to yourself one time a week that you're going to go to a naked system, because clearly you have enough information to do so. You said you can mark up your charts pretty well. So one time a week, and it could be even every other week depending on what time frame you're using, but I would say once a week. Go to the chart on whatever time frame you're using. I'd prefer the hour, but it's totally up to you. And go mark up your charts. Just pick the levels. Whatever you're doing, I do my areas of interest, my levels. If you're looking at something slightly different, I kind of basket all that information to say, here are some key areas of interest, and I put all that together as to not confuse myself. Because like you, once you learn all that stuff, your brain is kind of like, geez, and it doesn't even know what to do, because you're like, order block, measured move, opening candle, J-wick, snowman,
Yes.
Batman, cut off, like...
You're saying it.
It is. So we got all of it. And again, they're all great though. The key is going to be, first, let's learn to see the chart. Let's just see it. Even if you make no action, no money, no trade off of it, just one time a week, go mark up some levels. Don't overdo it. You shouldn't have more, stripes than a zebra. So if you have to pull up something like quarter points to minimize how many zones you're drawing up, you can do so. If you have to put up something like the grid to make sure you're not overdoing, okay? You shouldn't have 5 or 6, levels in each one of these grids, for example. So limit yourself within reason. Put a rule on it. I don't care which rule you find best for you. It's not my decision, it's yours. But that's step number 1, is to go to your charts once a week and mark up levels. Your job is not to mark up whether it's buying or selling. Your job is to mark up from where price is currently at. If we break to the top side, where are some key areas we're going to get a potential reaction? If we break to the downside, where are some key areas we may get a reaction? And just start there. And if you show it to me, I'll give you your compliments that say, hey, this is some good aspects. And if there's areas where I think there's room for improvement, I'll tell you those too. I'll say, well, I don't know what you saw here, but this probably I wouldn't see it. Or I see what you saw here, but there's too many, or I'll give you feedback on it. Fair?
Okay.
So that's number 1. Number 2, if you want and you're comfortable and you want to make a analysis prior to, again, no trades. You're not trading this, you're using this for information. You can do something like that trading view, the profit target with the stop loss and the take profit. I would probably not use that tool just yet, not for the first month or so. I would literally just use the arrows. So I draw up my levels from where price is currently at, and I would use an arrow of what I think potentially could happen, and only do that. Only that, nothing else for at least a few weeks minimum, just to start training your eyes and your brain. So that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be, let's hone in on a strategy. Of course, I would love you to commit a year of your life to come hanging out and having great conversation with me and building this community. But if it's not me, no hard feelings. Pick any strategy that you feel like you see well or comprehend well. Pick any methodology. I don't care if it's Ichimoku. I don't care if it's elephant and 20, 20 moving average. I don't care if it's the golden strategy, but pick some kind of technical analysis based strategy, preferably with some kind of indicator based confirmation. So that would be step 2. And just go through your plethora of information in your brain and say, well, I really hate the ADX. I like the RSI. I really love, the moving averages. I hate the super trend. Whatever those things are in your brain, let's make that list. Let's start to dissect, because I can't decide that for you. And honestly, no one should decide that for you. So if it's the golden strategy, you say, hey, this is what I want to use. I want to know my areas, and then I want to use the golden strategy to enter. Cool. But whatever that strategy is, let's pick one. If you really have an overload of information, I'll allow you pick 2, but preferably just one. Just one thing you're going to focus on. And that's step 2. Okay. You don't even have to trade it yet. Just pick the strategy that your eyes see well. And now that you have the strategy, step 3 is going to be, let's backtest that. Let's backtest that. Again, there's no trading involved in any of this. Step 3 is backtest it, which means if I'm taking the golden strategy and I'm managing this way, Am I averaging above 80%? And that's my opinion. As you just heard, some people are profitable with 40% accuracy. It's possible. So that's just where I'm at personally. But whatever that strategy is, step 3 is you're going to back test it and start. We're going to tweak some of those management settings. And then after we accomplish that, we'll go into a little bit of how we're going to manage in terms of trails, how we're going to manage it in terms of scales, and then really just get you on a linear path. Because when I'm telling you that you guys can do this in a very straight path, when my thoughts have never, ever been a straight path, ever, never once in my life, you guys can too. So, that last piece is pretty simple. Bruce Lee said he did not practice 10,000 kicks, he practiced one kick 10,000 times. So if you take those steps, I know they sound simplistic, but I promise you, we're going to practice that 10,000 times. You can be on your way to making those 5, 6, 7 figures or whatever once we get you a little bit more organized.